In this video, we're going to talk about the final stages of getting your drawing package together. So far we've got a floor plan. You have probably a couple of pages of elevations, four elevations of your room, and you have also a section detail as well as a reflected ceiling plan. So you've got quite a little drawing package happening there that explains the information in your room. So what these drawings need now is a couple of things, few things. The first thing is a title box. So the title box always sits down the bottom right of the drawing package. Sometimes in some architectural firms it might even be down the whole side here, but whatever, it needs to have the number here, and so that way you can quickly just flick through the package like this and you can see the number in this bottom corner, because it's usually might be stapled at the top left there. So we can just flick through and find the drawing number. If you've got a big package and you're looking for that section detail, because we'll have marked it here, what page it's on, we can flick through and easily find our drawing. So that's why the title box is always down the bottom there. Now from firm to firm, so different design offices will have a different way of doing this and a set way of doing it. So I've sort of put some guidelines down for you for doing it for this project. So we've got it down the bottom here. I've left 2 millimeters just either side of the edge of the page. And then the box is 18 centimeters by 3 centimeters high. The main title, which is your company logo, use 7 millimeter height for that text, and this one here as well. And then the little ones here are 3 millimeters, and then the title, so that would be your floor plan, or when it's your elevations, that will say elevations A and B, whatever it is. That one's 5 millimeters. That goes in there. You have your date, the scale that the drawing's drawn at, your name, and the sheet number. So the first sheet being 01, because you'll probably have a title page, and that is 00. Then comes 01, 02. So if you might have a couple of drawings on the one sheet, you can locate it in the package. And we do that through these labels. So every drawing will have a label, which we haven't given these yet. So here at the bottom corner here, I need to put this label. So you'll have, that's the edge of your plan, for example, with your dimension line. And then at the bottom left, you'll line up this little label that again states what the drawing is. So it's the floor plan, the scale. So it's the drawing number, it's the first floor plan, and the sheet number that it occurs on in the package. So that's what the bottom number is the sheet number, the top one's the drawing number. And I'll put this in Canvas so you can look at this. So so this writing here is 5 millimeters high. The scale is smaller at 3 millimeters high, and leave a 2 millimeter gap between the line that's drawn through the center of your circle and where your writing sits. So draw yourself up some little guidelines to do that to those specifications. And like I said, I'll put this in the group so you can read all of that a bit more closely. So once I've done that and I've placed my title box here, I haven't got to doing my label yet, but I'm just going to show you how to go about inking, but yes, I would have that. I should have that there too. But you'll notice it's a bit cramped here, and I'm over the edge of my dimension line, so we definitely can't have that. So I need to move this drawing all the way over there. And so I'm at that stage now. So when I come to inking up, I'm going to place my tracing paper so the floor plan is right over at the edge, and then I'm going to do that bit, and then I'm going to move my tracing paper back to trace over my title box. So I'll line that up so it's nice and straight. The paper that's underneath, and that tells me that I'm going to be straight on. And tape this up. Now you want your drawing board nice and clear of anything. And we talked a little bit last week about pen weight. So hopefully you've got yourself some pens. So I've got a 0.1, a 0.3 and a 0.5. So my 0.1 is my finest pen, so my thinnest point, and my 0.5 is my thickest. So for this drawing, what I do is I use my finest pen and go over the whole drawing in my finest pen first. So that will include the dimensions and everything. And what you do is you work from top to bottom, left to right, because this paper smudges very easily, and I don't want that to happen. So if I start with my 0.1. Now you also have to have made any adjustments that you want to have made, so you don't make the same mistake on your drawing. You need very good lighting for this, which I don't really have here set up, but enough to show you. So with your pens also, they can be damaged quite easily. If you press down hard, it will bend, and then suddenly what is a fine point becomes a very thick, blunt point. So be conscious, especially if you're a heavy-handed drawer, be conscious that you're not pressing too hard. Also, look at the angle of your pen on the paper as to where it's sitting and where it's actually going to draw. If I've got my pen sitting up at an angle like that, it's not going to hit where I want it to. So I might have my head, in the way here, but it's a little bit unavoidable. So be conscious with those dimension lines where you want them to finish. If you've gone a bit longer than what's been required, and then I come through and I do all my horizontals. Try to do it in one hit, not what I just did then. And it does take a little practice, this. So I can do the horizontal of that tap, as well as the handle, the horizontal of this. And I should have done the horizontals here, but I come down and I work my way through the whole drawing. from top to bottom, because if you come along and slide something over the top, it will smudge and you've kind of wrecked your all your beautiful drawing. So I've also got here my triangle with I've put some masking tape on the back of it, and that just raises it up a little bit. So when I come to do, for example, when we do the dimensioning, we do these ticks at our thickest. So I'm going to be using my number 5. I might show you one of those in a minute. And when I'm sliding this triangle along, I don't want it to smudge. The ink will run underneath it and smudge. So pop yourself a little bit of masking tape on the back. It just raises it up a little bit to stop that. I'm going to go this direction and just show you the ticks. So remember where I should have measured these. Put yourself a little measuring bit on your dimension lines, because remember these witness lines need to be a certain length down here. And I forgot to double check what the standards say for that. So have a look at that before you start. But I did just want to show you what I meant by these ticks. So the ticks are at your thickest. And you want to make sure that those ticks are right on that dimension line. So it's a much thicker, bolder weight, the little ticks, so these little marks, and the dimension line itself, it's quite fine. So we come along. I just want to show you one other little thing, and I need to just fill this bit in to show you. And I have already made a tiny little mistake because I haven't rubbed it out underneath. But I wanted to talk to you about backlining. So backlining is what we do when we want to make these walls appear more solid than the window, for example. Actually, I might show you down on the window because that'll give you the best indication of what we're trying to achieve with backlining. So I'll just quickly pop this one in all the way to there. I'll pop my window in here, my glass, and then the back wall there. Okay. Give that a minute. I just want to put in this arc here. Okay, so we'll be going all the way around, but I'll just do this bit just to show you. So I've done that in my my finest one. And backlining comes in and makes the line that is the wall just a little bit thicker. So you're drawing just inside the line that you just made. It's really important that you don't make it thicker than it is. So you're not drawing on the outside of it, but we're drawing on the inside of that line and making it thicker. So I'm going to draw around all the walls. Again, I'm just waiting for that to dry. So I'm coming just on the inside of this line here. See how I'm making that just that little bit heavier weight. Like So, and then this bottom one. So then I leave my window sitting like this, and then I do this wall as well. So we're backlining just the walls. Don't backline the windows. And when it's done, we get this beautiful shift in line weight from the very heavy walls that are solid, and then a nice fine window. So the other thing I wanted to show you is if you make a mistake, and you will, sorry, just to find my little scalpel. So you can get these from Eckersley's. It's just a little surgical scalpel. So say you've gone too far over a line, you'd be very, very careful with these because they're very sharp, obviously, and you want to erase it. I can just very lightly scratch that line off. And when I come to the end, because remember we're going to be photocopying these, so once I've got all my artwork on this bit of tracing paper, I then just photocopy that, and that gives me my final product. You don't see those little scratches in the final product. So you might see it on this tracing paper, but you won't see it on your final photocopied product. So if you don't have one of these, you could be very careful with a Stanley knife blade, or you might have a an ink eraser. But yeah, you try to not sort of dig it into the page like this, because it'll tear, and this is why you need a good quality tracing paper at this point. But yeah, just slightly sort of drag it across the top. If you have any writing, or if you're going to be going over that area, do it first before you take the mistake off, because once you've taken the scratched into the surface, you'll find your pen, you've taken off that top layer, and your pen will bleed into the paper, and you'll be left with a big ugly smudge. So yeah, I'm not going to go through, I'll be here all day if I go through to the degree that you guys will need to, but make sure that you consider your work. Is it excuse me, is it lined up neatly on the page? You don't want it sort of sitting way up in the top corner with nothing happening down here. Center it a bit. I'd probably move my general notes down a little bit when I come to doing that. I would move my paper up. And when I come to tracing over my writing, don't actually trace the writing. Just use it as a guide and just write naturally again over the top. Tracing writing usually looks a little stilted, but yeah, just use it as a guide, and that's the best way I find. So our line weights are everything in a fine line weight. Do your writing in your medium weight, and your backlining in your medium weight pen. I've given you the weights of pens to use for the title box in the document that I'll put in Canvas. Make sure that you use circle or elliptical templates wherever you have something like that, or a compass if it's bigger, if the arc's bigger than the circle that you've got, which is what I've got here. So I've just used my little compass, just a cheapy one like that, to get that nice arc. Remember, there's no hand-drawn element on the final technical drawing. Everything is ruled. Again, like we've said, if you don't have an ellipse, just do a rectangle and just take off the corners. We can then read that as a toilet. Yeah, so that is your inking, your title boxes, and your labeling for the final part of this project. So of course you will go through and you will do this process for all of your drawings. So there's the floor plan. Now your elevations. So if I'm looking at my elevations here, I'm thinking that I might not even be able to fit my title box on there with all of this. So maybe it is that that way for you guys as well. So you might need to do one elevation per page. But that's something that you're going to need to work out in terms of the layout, what's looking best for you, and something that you'll need to judge individually, because all your bathrooms are going to be different lengths, different sizes. So yes, we'll have a title box on each elevation page, the floor plan, the reflected ceiling plan, as well as the section detail. And don't forget, once you've worked out what page your section detail is on, or what sheet number, to pop it in the plan here in that symbol that you've needed to put into your plan view. It'll have S1 for section 1 and the page number that it occurs on. So if you've got your plan, your reflected ceiling, and maybe you have 4 elevations, the section might not come on until page 7. So then you would write that sheet 7 in the bottom of that little symbol there. So that is your inking up job for the final process of this project. Make sure with your numbering on your dimensions that it's all on one side of the line. So if we're all above, keep it all above. Don't swap from above to below. And don't write right on the line. Give yourself a couple of mils off of all of that, so it's not sitting right on the line, but it's looking even. Okay, well, I think that's all we have covered. Maybe one more thing. So when we're coming to doing our section, where we've cut around here, the edge, do that in a darker weight, a heavier weight, sorry, pen. So I would probably use my 3 and my 1 for the cross hatches in the middle. So remember, where we're cutting through, we're giving that darker line, which is really the same that we're doing with a floor plan, because it's almost like a section through the walls there. So that's what we'll be looking for in your work, although the line weight changes, and how well you've laid it out, how neat it is. Your writing's a big thing that lets the project down often. So practice the writing. Make sure all the verticals in the writing are vertical. If they start to get slanty and go all different directions, it starts to look a little unprofessional. Okay, and yeah, double check the drafting guidelines for how long the witness lines in the dimensioning needs to be, and they need to be joined up here, and the thickness of those ticks. All that information is written there, so make sure you are constantly referring to the drafting guidelines. So happy inking up, guys.